Alright, what is going on YouTube? Philip the Good versus Little John, the final matchup in the first round of Hidden Cup for main event. A quick look at the draft. We are going to have High Tides for Philip the Good as his home map, Bayern's Mat Flow, Bay is the other home map. Little John drafts Cup and goes for islands as well. Looking at the civilizations, we have Italians, Mayans banned, Philip the Good picking Aztecs, Lithuanians, Vikings were lost to the snipe, Malay, Chinese, Byzantines, and Britons. Other side, Little John, Mongols, Japanese, Portuguese were sniped from him, but he picks Saracens, so that's gonna be his island civ most likely. He will be playing with Celts, Malians, and Persians as well. So timing was perfect actually because we're just getting the first recorded game. So I actually had a very good timing in this one. I'm happy about myself. We'll be able to jump into the first game over here. So we'll have to reset the overlay as well. And here we go. Apparently Capture Age isn't actually cooperating either. But we will jump into the first game in a matter of moments. Philip the Good versus Little John. As I said, if Capture Age actually wants to cooperate. So, alright, now it works. So, Little John versus Philip the Good. We're going to have the original colors of the players out here. We'll leave it as it is, so blue and red will be the colors. Little John will be playing Malians in blue on the left side. Right side is going to be Philip the Good as Aztecs in red. Aztecs is the more conventional civilization selection, but Malians work perfectly fine on Arabia. Not something that's super common, but I feel like that was leftover civ for Philip the Good. In fact, Little John had Mongols, Japanese, Celts, Persians, Saracens available. All of these civilizations are suitable for other maps. Somalians is the leftover civ to play with. Over here, Aztecs is going to be the civilization to play with for Philip the Good because Little John actually sniped the Vikings from the opponent, so he leaves Lithuanians and Aztecs available for Philip. With that, we are going to have a super early gold mining over here. What is this build from Little John? I wonder if this was just, accidental, or maybe he was waiting for a second lumber camp. I don't know what happened here. I don't know why he was gathering a bit of a gold, but oh, this gotta be a smart player. This villager is carrying 10 gold, and one thing that you should always remember, you see that now he has 110 gold. Every drop-off building, lumber camp, mill, mining camp, acts as a drop-off building for any resource when it is actually finished construction. So if you gather 10 gold with a villager, send it to build a lumber camp, then the lumber camp finishes, the villager will actually be able to drop off the gold at that lumber camp for the one time when this lumber camp is finished. After that, it's not going to work. But if you actually finish building a drop-off building with a villager that carries any kind of resource, that resource will be dropped off. And that is why Little John was doing this. This also means Little John wants to drush, and he felt like it is easier for him to collect the gold and then go to the lumber camp, drop it off, than it was to collect the gold, walk back whatsoever. Aggressive scouting coming in here from Philip the Good, who has some idle time on that villager over there. As he's bringing in board number 2 here in a matter of moments as well. 4 wood, no surprise about that from him. So we'll take a look at the maps of the players in a matter of moments. But before that, I want to see what type of luring Philip does. Is he actually using the TC to weaken the board or not? Seems like he isn't. Yeah, he's not doing that. There's very few people that don't consistently lure the board nowadays with the TC. It used to be only a thing that Chinese and Vietnamese players did, but nowadays a lot of people are weakening the board with the TC, as with little lag in Definitive Edition, that is much easier to do than it used to be on Wobbly. With that, the base for Little John is actually fairly decent. It's a small base, so it's a little base for Little John, to be precise. Easy wall off here, and wall off here. It's not a big base, but it's gonna have a safe gold. It's gonna have okay woodlands. Obviously, archers could cause problems, but I feel like everything else that you could actually wall would just be a lot more complicated. Like, you could wall over here. That's a bad wall. That's a very bad wall from Little John, though. You want this wall to be out here, because this way archers can't camp this position. If you had your wall here, starting from this tile to this tile, then you would actually prevent archers from camping here, and they could only attack at this side. That's not a good wall from Little John, given the circumstances. Other side, we apparently have barracks coming in as well for Little John for what is a standard post-mail rush timing, I believe. Is it the post-mail rush? It feels like a pre-mail rush timing because he already has militias out by 19 villagers, so it seems like a pre-mail rush to me. And farms are being added, which makes me wonder if we are going to see a Drush FC here from Philip the Good. Now his map is not really suitable for this. This gold mine is bad, vulnerability is questionable. Really, I don't like this map for a Drush FC, which raises the question of why are you adding a farm here. Although, I can think about one player that would potentially add a farm like this, and that is Nikov. Nikov could potentially add farms even if he's going for men-at-arms or Drush archers. He didn't lose any of his herdables, I believe, so you see that he still has 3 under his TC being eaten. The opponent also has the same as well, so it's not like he's adding farms because he lost his herdables by any means. But more and more farms are being added, and if we keep adding farms like this is actually going to be Drush FC at this rate. So, little base for Little John, as I mentioned, and it looks like this is just going to be Malian men-at-arms timing at the end of the day. I think he wanted to Drush, but then he changed his mind as he lands some shots on the militias. For now, this is fine for Little John. His base is very, very secure. The problem is I'm not sure how he's going to follow this up after the men-at-arms. The other thing that I'm a little bit concerned about for him is that his farming space on this side of the TC is actually a little bit exposed to aggression. It's going to be 3 militias only. Other side, bows are coming up. Philip the Good is sending out the villagers for hunt. That's something that a lot of Red Bull players do. So many players that played in Red Bull understand the importance that even if you don't push in your deer, you can just send out your villagers to the deer as long as you know that your opponent isn't there. And you know that your opponent isn't there because you see him over here. Coming up with the fight is Little John and Philip the Good, and it looks like Little John will just trade off the militia to the opponent's militia over here. Nice micro from both players, and it ends up being a fairly decisive win for Little John, to be honest. So, in fact, that's basically a loss for both, because you are trying to keep your scout alive in with the Drush. That didn't happen for either side. There's gonna be one lonely militia for Little John, and Little John apparently didn't find 2 of his piggies, so that explains a lot. Oh man, that feels so bad. He didn't scout 2 tiles over here, and that's where the sheeps are hiding, and honestly, that's actually a very unlucky sheep spawn. Just look at this. Sheep over here, I mean, it's halfway in between the 2 players. Well, not halfway, but come on, man. It's like 1/3 of the way in between the 2 players. And we're gonna have ranges coming in here. It looks like Philip will be playing with what is a Drush Archer's play. No surprise about that one. With this map, I think you can do this. Some slow and steady walls to the corners. No rush about those. And the militia should have no trouble scaring this away. And it's gonna be Eagles mixed in as well, because Eagles and Archers is always better than just straight Archers. And it looks like we're even going to have a skirmisher opening for Philip, so he knows exactly that his opponent is going to have the upper hand in archer numbers, so he's going to open with skirms. Still, Eagle skirm / Eagle archer is going to work out better, and eventually we will probably see an Eagle switch completely from Philip, and a Knight switch from John. Potentially even Longsword. Nice lame over there from Little John, killing that deer to limit the amount of food that's accessible for his opponent. Finally, he finds the piggies, and even though it's late, you can still send them back home and have a nice little advantage. Well, not really an advantage, because you should have had these already, but at least you're gonna have a decent food eco to follow up with. There is Horse Killer in as well for Philip the Good, so his eco is slightly better, plus you also have to add the efficiency that belongs to the Aztecs. I like this double layer wall as well. That's a very underrated thing to do. You don't just do 1 layer of palisade over here, because your opponent is just going to knock through that very easily, so you add the 2nd layer. That's a smart play overall from Philip. And Eagle is gonna get caught off guard over here very, very easily. Not really a great move from Philip to run into those archers. And right now it is 6 archers, 3 skirms versus 2 Eagles, only 3 skirms and 1 archer, so I'm not really convinced about Philip's numbers right now. Militia will also trade off against the Eagle. That's a good trade for Little John. He's actually picking off the Eagle over here, takes the hill. Fletching is in for both players, but there is also +1 defense already for Little John. And Little John is actually doing a very, very nice job, just absolutely smashing this eco currently. And so far, Little John, 0 seconds TCR time, Philip the Good as well, 1 second. Both of these players have some very, very good macro skills in here. So we're gonna have these archers looping around. You slowly have to blow yourself up if you are Philip. And the thing is that this gold mine is still a little bit exposed. You should have this hill to defend, but you have to be careful about those archers looping around. Food ecos are fairly comparable, but as I said, that horse color advantage for Philip the Good is gonna be nice in the long run. It's not going to impact the game immediately, but it's going to be helpful fairly soon. So with that, we are gonna have the archers not really doing much right now. They're trying to find an angle to attack, but they're just pretty much being chased down by Philip's units over here. And not Philip's, it's just Philip. You have no trouble actually cleaning this one up over here in case he catches these. And he seems like he's actually catching these. So that's gonna work out really nicely from him. Starts picking off the archers over here with the skirms. He will probably try to cut off the escape path over here. That will be the reasonable thing to do. So with that, this army should be gone. There is also a sneaky force coming in here for Little John trying to flank, and this is why you reinforce these walls, because you want to make sure that your opponent isn't getting through your walls like that. Defense so far from Philip has been pretty good. He likes to play semi-open apparently and just match the opponent's army numbers. Castle Age is getting close for both players, so that's something that is going to help quite a bit. And there's still a weak part of Philip's wall over here, and that exactly is what Little John is going for. He's trying to bash his way through there. We're gonna have knights coming in from Little John, as you would expect, because he's probably expecting the ego switch. Castle Age times will be fairly close for both players, but honestly, with this many archers and skirms, there is a legitimate chance that we are not going to see Philip switching into eagles immediately. He might just continue with crossbows. And that could be completely legitimate, especially if he's expecting his opponent to switch into double stable knights. Makes more sense for him to keep adding archers and just have a big blob of crossbows potentially supported by monks. It looks like this army is actually heading back home. It is 15 archers, 3 skirmishers versus what is going to be just 11 archers, 6 skirms. Feels a lot more, to be honest, for Philip the Good. But this would justify crossbow from both players. Little John has quite a lot of those inside those ranges as well. Other than that, Little John is gonna have to expand his base soon because his base is very, very small and tight. So he's gonna have to drop a TC potentially over here. He doesn't really have the wood for that right now because he had to switch into double stables. So he pretty much spent all his wood on stables. Now that Castle Age is coming in, Philip knows that he's probably gonna be up against knights, and he will just finish off walling off his base. I really like these double layer walls. They're actually very, very smart. Not super smart because, as I said, it's not something super complicated. It's more about the fact that it's a nice precaution to make sure that you don't expose your right side easily. Here is Crossbow Botkin from Little John moving up already with his army. He's got +1 defense as well. Same thing for his opponent. And it looks like Philip will be pushed back a little bit, goes for Crossbow Botkin and Boso and Fast University for Ballistics. The other side could be Ballistics as well with University soon, but it could also be a TC. A second TC is coming up as well for Philip to protect that gold mine. That's all about protecting the gold mine. The problem that Philip will be facing is that I feel like he is going to lose this hill here, and that hill advantage for Little John is actually going to be pretty crucial. So being able to fire downhill is going to be important, and we'll see if Philip actually is waiting for ballistics first or goes for defense siege workshop. It looks like he's waiting for ballistics, and he also has a little hill here to hold, and that's nice to have as well. Second TC is the choice for Little John to an interesting position. I don't like this TC spot at all. It's going to be good for farming, but that's all, and it's not like Little John has a lot of good wood lines, so I feel like he should have been a little bit more aggressive expanding towards wood lines because he got the map control, but that TC is actually very, very interesting and borderline weird, so to say. So here come the knights. with the support of the crossbows and knights, they could actually try bashing their way through here, but it's going to take some time and the crossbows will have time to react. A third range coming in as well for Philip. And this means that we are actually going to have the crossbow defense working out nicely, +2 defense as well for Philip, right now sitting at 46 vultures, making TC number 3 to protect that wood line. And this is the weak spot. This is the really weak spot. It's only double layer palisades, and I don't think that Philip saw that in time at least. I think he thought that this is complete double layer just like I did, and this actually causes a lot of chaos over here. Now, there is ballistics for those crossbows over here for red, and there is no ballistics right now for blue, but there is quite a lot of knights in here. Knights do not have +2 defense or bloodlines. I think that if the TC goes up, it's completely fine. Some crazy jumping around by those knights over there, but eventually that's not really going to be enough. And I think a couple of skirms went down for the price of a couple of knights, but 3 TCs are up for our red player. This TC is much better from blue than this one used to be, and we apparently have a player that does manual reseeding over here. Little John trying to go for the farms over here. He's at 11 villagers only, so that's not really enough to sustain a good 3 TC villager production plus even knights. Tries to continue with crossbows, and it looks like we're gonna have a forward siege workshop. So one of the disadvantages of defending with archers with Aztecs, well, there's a couple of them. First of all, you don't have Thumb Ring, so your archers aren't actually fully upgraded in Castle Age. But more importantly, mangonels could be troublesome, and technically you can go for monks, but I feel like the opponent has the option to pick off your monks with crossbows oftentimes. And redemption monks also cost a lot. Still, it seems like Philip actually spotted the 4th villager, and he's gonna go for the monastery immediately for some monks with redemption. It looks like Little John is forced back for the time being. Equal idle times are fairly comparable for both players, and that's a big horde of crossbows coming in. 32 crossbows with very good condition overall. Barely any of them has been damaged so far. And now Revo has happened here for Philip. This monastery is also going to be useful for picking up relics, which obviously helps, especially for Aztecs. 2 or 3 relics here with Aztecs could definitely be a very nice resource income. And Philip is playing a super safe game right now. I like that quite a bit. So, double range crossbows for Philip, and a monastery coming in. I wonder if he's just gonna collect relics, or he's more about, okay, let's actually go aggressive and try to convert some mangonels with redemption, or try to convert some knights with just the monks themselves. Anyways, villager count is very close for both players, but obviously Aztec eco has some efficiency advantage over the opponent's eco here. Both players with the similar eco upgrades. Knights actually looping around might actually find something to hit over here. The monk will move out and pick that relic up over there. This relic is also going to be takeable for red. Nice move over there from our red player, picking off an awful lot of knights. Well, not an awful lot, but 2 or 3 knights is actually a value over here, especially considering now Little John is down to 2 knights, so the opportunity for Philip to mix in egos once again is there, but it looks like he's just gonna play full-on crossbow play. Looking at those resources, those are not bad for Imperial Age. Going for redemption right now, he could drop that relic with the monk and just go for the conversion, but I think Sanctity is something that you also want to wait for. Obviously, it's about the monk HP, and for Aztecs, that's a little bit easier, even with redemption, they have 35 HP, but now it is the fight that you're taking, and this is why I said that monks is not something I necessarily like, because the crossbows can pick them off relatively easily. Anyone else thinks it's Mr. Yo versus Leary? Not impossible. Absolutely not impossible, but it's like, right now it's blind guesses after 1 game. So I don't think there is a lot of speculation that's actually worthwhile over here. We're gonna have the Arbalasts. Well, not Arbalasts right now, there's just crossbows. There's Defense Siege Workshop coming in here for Philip. He kinda needs that because, as I said, Redemption Monks aren't working right now for him. He needs Sanctity for those monks at minimum. Otherwise, they just get picked off so easily, and in theory, Aztec monks stop a crossbow siege push. In reality, it doesn't really happen, because the 9-range monk gets picked off by the 7-range crossbows, and a mangonel crossbow play is probably more devastating than the monk play, and Imperial Age coming in here as well for Little John. Whoever these players are, these are actually both very, very good players because the macros seem to be on point. The army numbers aren't amazing for Little John. One thing that we have to consider is that Imperial Age, Malians have Arbalest, but they don't have Bracers, so if you want to use this army, you use it now. There was finally a conversion coming into the Mangonel, and the value was there for Philip the Good. Picks off the crossbows, and he's also able to go up into Imperial, lands a big shot up hills. And the thing is that he's gonna be sitting on 45 Arbalests, and oh my goodness, Elite Skirm! What is Elite Skirm even doing here for you? I mean, it's gonna be fine in Castle Age, but in Imperial it's gonna be quite potato. The Champ Scars is something I like a lot more, because that's exactly what's gonna happen. Imperial Age is gonna be a 1 minute advantage for Little John, but Little John doesn't have an army right now. And one of the things that I like about Philip the Good's position right now is that he never really lost an awful lot of army. He was doing an excellent job just keeping his army alive, and you see the army value is much, much greater for him. He always kept his crossbows alive, and that's gonna be a good horde of Arbalests. The problem is that how do you deal with champions that will have 7 Pierce armor, I believe? You could go Jagger Warriors, that's your best bet, to be honest. Or if you go Eagles, you can use your mobility. But I think the Champ's card and Farimba Light Cav for Little John could actually be a very, very nice combination. But he needs to survive until he actually gets there, because that's an awful lot of crossbows, and there is going to be Mangonels supporting as well. Defensive Mangonels are out as well for Little John, so he knows that the opponent is coming. Let's see. The Mangonel, it's a 1-for-1 potentially. Yes, it ends up being a 1-for-1. Mangonel comes up for the other side. Mangonel from our blue player, red splits away, but still eats a fairly decent shot. Another shot coming in. Reasonable hits here from our blue player, and another Mangonel has been queued up. Longswordman is already in. Chainmail just now coming in, so it takes some more time for Little John to tech into his army. This is why I feel like the late Imperial for Philip the Good isn't something that is really problematic right now, and it seems like he's actually going to add another range. So he wants to brute force Arbalest play this one. Now going Squires, he could go for his own champions, and Malian champions do have great pierce armor, but one thing that they do not have is the final attack upgrade, which means that Aztec champions are actually better in quality. Even without Garland Wars, they just go for Blast Furnace and that's enough. But with Garland Wars, Aztec champions are way better than the Swordsman. Now you see the Swordsman coming out, so you know exactly what to expect. With Plate Mail, indeed, it's going to be 1+7 pierce armor. Over here with 200 Swordsman. And indeed, we're going to have Brax. The problem that you're facing here if you're Philip is that it takes a lot of time to tech into longswords. You see that you have to queue up the Men-at-Arms, the longsword, 200 Swordsman champion upgrade. That is 4 consecutive upgrades that you have to queue up, and that takes a lot of time. Supplies just now coming in alongside chemistry. There is not a lot of longswords on the field, so these Arbalests could still be pretty efficient, but there apparently is going to be a overrunning flood of swordsmen coming in here soon. The swordsmen are still missing the attack upgrade, and oh my goodness, that is something that could be absolutely decisive. Let's take a look at that once again. Here come the orbs, and Mangonel is gonna come in. I'm actually curious if this was a delete trick or not. It is going to be a Mangonel that will be firing up hills, I believe. The Mangonel shoots, and indeed it's the delete trick. That's something that you have to consider when you're evaluating these players. Who would delete a Mangonel like that? That was a beautiful hit. A lot of those Arbalests are now damaged, and that's not a huge amount of swordsmen, but it takes so much fire to kill all those swords. And now there's a Mangonel coming from the other direction. We could see another big ground attack. Arbalest now taking the shot, getting their edge caught. But now look at the overall HP of those Arbs. Many of them are super weak, and the crossbows were shooting on them. The crossbows only have +2 attack here, so these are not amazing crossbows, but they had the hill and they were consistently firing, so they actually lowered the amount of Arbalests over there. But this bought some time for Philip, who is now making his own champions. So at this stage, Malians could go for hand cannon, Malians could go for Frimbolite Cav. And once again, I would like to point out that our blue player isn't actually reseeding farms automatically. At this stage, many players go for automatic reseeding. It looks like we have Little John with a manual reseeding working for him. You see that if you compare it to the other player, I see no idle farms right now for Philip. So here come the champions. One thing that I dislike very, very heavily for Philip, though, is his upgrades on these champions. Only +1 attack, no defense upgrades whatsoever. That's by far not ideal. And he also has still a lot of arbalests here, which are helping keeping these champions away. And even though each arrow only does about 2 damage, it is still going to take down a champion once you have like 30 arbalests shooting at it. And Jaguar Warrior could be the name of the game as well. There was an outpost coming in here, and Stone Walls for Little John. I don't really know who would actually play with Stone Walls in a situation like this. Like, Mr. Yo could be a candidate, but I feel like most of the people that I can imagine with playing a lot of Stone Walls is actually gone from the tournament already. The champions are knocking down this blacksmith, something that Philip has to react to currently. And also, oh my goodness, Lord Doubt has visited us over here. That is not going to be a castle that goes up. It might go up at some time, but you see that there is champion in for Philip, but he's got +1/+2 on those. The opponent's champions have +1/+4, that's actually +4. So the final armor upgrade is an extra, and iron casting is just kicking in. Whereas for Philip, he lost the blacksmith. Philip lost the blacksmith, and he's also trying to stonewall himself. But oh my goodness, that's a disaster for Philip. He was distracted for so long that he lost his blacksmith, and it hurts so much because, as I said, Malian champion in quality is worse than Aztec champion once you have all the upgrades for both players, because they don't have blast furnace. But it doesn't matter if the Aztecs don't even have +4 defense, let alone the attack upgrades. And now that the blacksmith is down, that's also going to cause a lot of chaos. And Shemskar is also great at raiding, because they just don't care about TC fire. You see that they're barely getting scratched and they kill villagers very easily. Philip the Good is down to 94 villagers, trying to get the castle up once again. I can already see people screaming it is Doubt, but I don't think it's actually Doubt here. But this is turning into a proper Doubt castle, because I think it will eventually go up, but the question is how many villagers will die for this. Because right side, this is still a massive opening, so this stone wall isn't doing much. And I feel like this would be the time where you think about Farimbalite Cav soon for Little John. Because you have to start transitioning your unit comp to a post-Imperial scenario. And Farimbalite Cav is one of the best units to do that. There's a massive opening here. Even a crossbow will be sent in here to just keep picking off villagers that are trying to revolt. Apparently there's still a lot of arbalasts on the field, and indeed, as I said, the castle goes up, but Philip the Good is down to 80 villagers, and right now he is not really in a good situation. He's more like Philip the Bad in this very game. He's playing well, but it seems like the arbalasts, I feel like the champion switch might have been a little too late from him. He was expecting the champ scars, but as I said, it takes forever to tech into champions, and his opponent had all the time in the world to tech into champs, because Philip wasn't really attacking. The arbalasts are still dangerous here, because as I said, a big group of ARP still picks off champions like that, but I feel like the mobility could be on the side of Little John once we have Farimbalite cast, but I don't think it's actually happening, or at least it doesn't seem like it. Garland Wars now in for Philip. Interesting that Garland Wars actually comes in before the +4/+4 upgrades on the blacksmith. And do you know why that happens? Because Philip doesn't have a blacksmith. Philip doesn't have a blacksmith here, forced to go for the defensive castle on the left side of his base. Now this is not a fight that Little John can take, and as I said, there will be a moment where the champions for the Aztecs will be better than the champions of the Malians. I think that's already the case. It's +6, and as I said, the upgrades are even missing for Philip. This is the moment where you actually start thinking about Farimbalite Cav. You kinda have to. You can't just spam the champions. Indeed, here come the stables, chain barding coming in. Farimba is an expensive upgrade, so you probably won't queue that up immediately. But you just need 2 defensive upgrades, you need a light cav upgrade, you already have 2 stables standing over here, so you can actually start getting those upgrades in. Murder holes! Murder holes for our red player as he's trying to keep those champions away from the castle and try to protect that castle over there. I think that blue definitely has arson, he's slowly taking down the building. There is going to be champions that stop this, but still Murder Hose is always a funny upgrade to take a look at in competitive play. It looks like our blue player is actually going to take the hill here, so he's paying attention to small details like taking the hill over here, taking the best fight possible, and while he's I was actually trying to convert like just trying to combine words like diversion and distract, but yeah, while he was distracting Philip on north, he actually pushes the middle, and that's a lot of champions still. The numbers are what really makes this very scary. 46 on the field. Now it's 36 as well for Philip. So the numbers are evening out, but it's the positioning that isn't really there. And as I said, now it's going to be for Light Cap soon. The base of Philip is actually going to get opened up. And that means that Light Cap will have all the freedom in the world to run into the eco of the opponent. Only 11 on gold for Little John. And one thing we didn't notice is this big push over here that dives right beneath the castle. Arbalests also camping down. And believe it or not, this castle is actually melting. Voyager's trying to repair this one, champions coming in. But Philip's counterattack here was crazy. I think they just ran in here to an overchop, but luckily for us, we can actually rewatch it. So this is gonna get cleaned up, I believe. You could even get Tigui, which is the Malian unit upgrade, or unique upgrade, which would make your thesis fire arrows automatically. But I think that the one thing that matters is that if you look at Philip's eco, he's down to 68 Voyagers. He just got absolutely torn apart on all directions. There was a champion in here on the right side killing Voyagers, and he just lost the battle in the middle here. So yeah, this one was a final desperate counterattack, which, thanks to Capture Age, we can actually rewatch. Oh, that was a little too much. But here they come. They just bash their way through these walls, and then they just dive in. The castle came up just in time for Little John, but the champions were able to camp below it, and the Arbalests were able to pick off the Voyagers that were sent to repair this. Still, simultaneously, since most of the champions from Philip the Good were here, he got overrun in the middle. And you see that while he's taking down this castle here, in the middle, his entire base is collapsing. So he's got just a couple of champions over here against a never-ending flood of champs. These guys are running around in the eco as well. And even though this castle is slowly going down, it doesn't change the fact that, as I said, he's losing Voyagers here on the north. He's losing Voyagers in the middle, so you see why he actually tapped out. And Little John is actually going to take game number 1 over here in probably a couple of seconds once the replay ends. But I think he actually quit at 68 Voyagers, so that's going to happen in a moment. His left side collapsed, and he just wasn't ready for the flood of champ scars, as it is Little John taking a fairly convincing game number 1 over here. I'm not going to say it was a decisive win, but it was very, very convincing, so to say. So with that, we are going to take a look at the draft of the players. So we have Aztecs gone for Philip the Good, Malians gone for Little John. And this means we're going to one of the home maps for Philip, which could be good old-fashioned Bay or High Tide. If it's High Tide, I assume... I know it's called High Tides, but the legacy name of this map is High Tide. It was just changed a little bit, so this brings in the heritage of High Tide. That's why I'm calling simply High Tide and not High Tides. So, Little John will probably be playing Japanese over there versus maybe Malay, maybe Chinese. Lithuanians will be the pick for Philip, or for Philip, for Bay versus Mongols. It's gonna be Lithuanians versus Mongols on Bay. Japanese versus maybe Malay, maybe Chinese on High Tides. Cup is most likely going to be Celts from Little John versus maybe Britons. And lastly, we are going to have islands, which will probably be Byzantines versus Saracens. That's gonna be an interesting one to take a look at. We have the second game coming up. And with that, we will jump into the next one in a matter of moments. So, Little John versus Philip the Good, and we're going to High Tides. This is game number 2 over here. So, oh, I need to cancel this time thing here. We are going to have Little John on the left side of the map playing as Mongols in a blue. Interesting decision that he's going Mongols, which means that he's going for Byzantines as well. He's going for Byzantines as well, that's sure, but what I wanted to say is that he is going something else on Bay. In fact, I expected Mongols and Lithuanians to be a pick for Bay, but it looks like we will have this one for High Tides over here. An interesting matchup, to be honest. So what do you gain with Mongols here? You gain an easy deer push and potentially a fast feudal for contesting the pond over here in the north. What you gain with Lithuanians is the ability to go for an early dock over here. I would assume that that is going to be a bit of a case, but considering that Philip is sending all his villagers to food, it might just be a standard dock timing but a faster feudal age, so both players should be going to feudal age fairly fast. The interesting thing is going to be what we're going to see on Bay, if these players actually picked these two civilizations on this very specific map. So boar comes in right now for Philip, 4 on wood, as you would expect, and now he's adding a 5th on wood, and then he's going to send this voyager out for the dock most likely. Other side, let's see what we have. We have actually a fairly early boar lure, which is not so surprising with Mongols. You already had this boar being lured in before the 4th voyager was added on the wood line. Voyager moving out to make a house right now. The other voyager is already being sent forward. I like this move from Philip, that he's using the scout to escort the voyager. That actually helps quite a bit keeping that voyager alive. So that is a good decision, and that's the way that it is supposed to be done. So with that, we are gonna have the second war coming in as well for Philip, who is missing out on 2 of his goats at the back. That's a very, very unlucky scouting for him, but I believe he's going to explore that with the goat that he has. So he's gonna have no problem for it. He's gonna have to send the voyager to pick those goats up, but it's not really a big deal. He didn't push in a single deer. We had 1 deer being pushed in by Little John. And we already have a scout scuffle over here in the middle, which might be decided by Voyager joining the party. Doc is going up for both players. So I don't think that this is going to decide anything. Both players will just vote in their Voyagers, or Philip could actually try to bring in that will and take that fight, but since he's not going for Loom, he's not going to. I still think that he needs to vote that Voyager in to prevent the scout from picking it off. Right now, Philip's scout is actually much, much weaker than Little John's scouts. He's gonna have to fall back. Adds a wall behind his Voyager. That should be enough to keep that Voyager alive and keeps that Voyager on the box turtles, as you would expect. So with that, Philip is going up at what is going to be 19, actually it's 20 pop equivalent. Whereas on the other side, we do have 19 pop equivalent over here for Little John. Not something that's super amazing with Mongols, but without deer push, that's probably the best you can squeeze out. Fishing ships are on the way for both players, and that slight advantage to feudal age could help the Mongol player decide the water engagement, but it's not something that guarantees victory by any means. In fact, I feel like the Lithuanian player is pretty much in there in this, and this is why this matchup is always interesting to look at, because both players can actually go for very, very fast feudal ages, and it looks like Philip actually tried turning around, and he will now try to take this hill, brings in a villager as well to decide this engagement, tries to land a downhill shot, and he's very, very close to losing his scout, so I don't think he's gonna play around with that. Little John's scout micro was just absolutely outstanding here. So, with that, Little John only has 1 wood line working for him. That mining camp position is something I massively dislike. To be honest, there is gonna be a lot of voyager bumping between these 2 villagers, and it's also hard to quick ball against land aggression. Second dog coming in here for Little John, so he's gonna play this one. Very standard, same thing for Philip the Good. They are playing super, super standard. And I think that they were playing the map that, like the way that it was meant to be played. Now, I did mention that Philip didn't pick up 2 of his goats over here at the back. He will no longer have the option to, because that's going to be lamed away by Little John. That's a little bit sloppy from Philip, because those goats are actually pretty important in feudal age, because you want to add villagers on food, and the later you have to add farms, the better, basically. So having 2 extra sheep helps quite a bit for Little John, and it hurts very, very badly for Philip, He still has some sheep over here working for him because at the end of the day he was Lithuanian, so he had a lot more extra food to work with. Didn't have to consume that much sheep before cooking up. But at the end of the day, there is fire galleys coming in from both sides, and they will immediately start shooting at the fishing ships. This is why I think that Japanese are a little bit better as a civilization here, because preserving your fishing eco is much easier with Japanese, and you see that with Lithuanians you already have to run away from this one first fishing ship already down. And that advantage that you're seeing over here for Little John with the fire galleys is exactly the Mongols' advantage. That half fire galley advantage on both docks is basically that 30 seconds that Little John was beating his opponent into feudal age with. So you see that the extra sheep here will actually help quite a lot for Little John as well, because he can just keep adding villagers on food, delay the berries, and he will also be able to delay the farms, and this is looking extremely good for Philip. So he's already winning water though, but there is going to be a third dock being added by Philip, which means that he could technically turn this one around. Nice move with the fire guy to kill the opponent's fishing eco, but you see that Little John is not committing a lot of resources into making a fishing eco. He's committing a lot of resources into actually winning water engagements, as he's trying to land a big demo hit on those fire galleys. Nice move over there from Philip, sniping down that demo, but it's still 5 fire galleys against 5. One of these fire galleys is super weak though. It's 3 fire galleys and 3 docks over here though for Philip. The question is, can he actually sustain this production? That demo was fairly inefficient, but suddenly Philip is taking over on the water. The third dock is really paying for its price, but there is a barracks coming in for Little John. So one of the reasons why there is no third dock for Little John is because he actually went for a barracks, and that's not something that should be underestimated. Slowly he's losing water, but he still has a fairly decent chance because one good demo can turn things around. But it looks like Philip is doing a very nice job, just consistently pumping out fire galleys and winning the water one by one. Nice move over there from... Actually, no, never mind. I thought this scout is actually going to delay this archer range, but that's not going to be a possibility because Philip is down to 3 HP, and we're gonna have a range coming in. This is well seen by Philip, and he's going to react to that one accordingly with Lithuanian skirmishers. Those are actually a very good unit to think about. So one of the reasons I don't like the archer play against Lithuanians, because Lithuanians will just be very happy to go for their own skirmishers. It also is Little John yoinking the opponent's scout over here. Did you see that? He was like, hello, bye, and he just yoinked that scout over here. So there goes Philip's scout, and behind this one, Philip is, as I said, slowly winning water. He is still 4 fire galleys and 2 fishing ships versus just 1 demo and 1 fire ship. But that's basically all. Nothing else currently on the field for Little John, not even anything queued up. So it seems like Little John is gonna lose water. And now look at those walls. Those are some MBL level walls that we got over here, walling from this place to the edge of the map. And to be honest, if they go up, it's fine. There's gonna be elite skirms, well, not elite, but simple skirms coming in right now to try and pick off the archers. The scout is still alive, but it's fairly weak, which means that the skirmishers will not really have a tough time. I like this move though to try and block the wall foundation. A nice micro from Little John. Little John's overall unit control seems to be very top notch, and now you have to pull the villagers to make sure that the scout isn't able to pick off the skirm. Skirm is going to take the hill here, and it's also faster than the archers, so it can actually catch up with them. And now you actually re-roll this one, and you should be good to go. That's a little sloppy from Little John, losing the scout over there. And the thing is that now is the time for Philip to start capitalizing on the fishing eco. Goes for what is triple dock fish boom. That's gonna start kicking in, and I like the way that he's playing this now, rolling himself off and start capitalizing on the fishing eco. And the way that this map usually plays out is that if you have the fishing eco advantage by a massive margin, that was a beautiful demo snipe. We missed out some parts of it, so that means that we will actually rewind this for a moment. Here comes the demo, and it only sniped 1 fishing ship, so it wasn't that amazing, but still, that was something to pay attention for. One thing it's also worth paying attention for is the archers picking off 2 Voyagers over here from Philip the Good. Philip only killed 2 Voyagers but lost 7. That is actually crazy. 7 Voyagers lost, most of them were fishing eco, but still, that is absolutely brutal. So the eco count is still pretty close. It looks like we have a fairly developed farming eco for Little John, even though it is without horse color. Whereas for Philip, he still has... he needs some time until the fishing eco actually starts kicking in. Once it actually starts kicking in, then it is going to be an insane food income. Fairly consistent, and it's going to propel him to a better cast stage time potentially. He's gonna have to make a market to balance out his eco a little bit here, but first it's a big investment to go for a fishing eco, and it needs quite a lot of time until it has a good return value. I like that Philip is actually splitting up his fishing ships, one fishing ship to each of these little ponds, and the reason why is because that actually makes it much harder for Little John to try and go for demo snipe. You see that there is a demo in here. It will, like, the best thing that you could do is maybe get 2 fishing ships, but it ends up killing none, and that is great once again for Philip. Archers now coming in, but the skirmishers will defend. Once you balance out your eco for Philip, you should be very close to castle age, but if you take a look at Little John, he's trying to redock, something that will be spotted by Philip, so Philip can actually react to this one in time. Little John knows exactly that he can't let the water fall, because his opponent already has a pretty significant fish boom over here. Voyager count is still dead even though between the 2 players. Part of the reason is that Philip actually had a lot of peace out of time, 2:31 versus 52 seconds, but he's on the way towards castle age. His opponent is not that much far behind, but that's where the extra food from fishing ship really starts coming in. And I guess the plan from Little John is just to redock over here and go for fire ships in castle age. He's slowly bowling himself off. We have the skirms coming in from Philip. Both players will be void in the foreseeable future, I would say. And one thing that I would like to highlight is that Little John doesn't have safe stone income, which could be very problematic for a player that is playing Mongols. These Voyagers will... I think one of them might actually die here, but not both. Both of them survive, okay. So, docks up here, and indeed, you are actually gathering fire galleys inside, and you're just waiting for the opportunity to go out with your fire ships. But your opponent is beating you to castle age by 130, and there's already a stable coming in. The relics are also at predictable positions on this map, so there is 2 on the south. This part of the map is relatively uncontested. In fact, no one really goes here. I haven't seen a single game where players went over here. So these 2 relics should be relatively easy to pick up because no one is there, most likely. This relic should be easy as well, and you also have a relic here that is under the control of Philip the Good, so this could be 4 relics for him. Scale boarding on the way right now. Little John, I mean, Little John wants to get the water back, I get that, but to be honest, for Philip, he just needs to go for War Galley, and he's gonna have the better galley numbers. He also has 3 docks, so he can add a couple more fire galleys. It's not like this push from Little John is actually going to do much to Philip's fishing eco. And behind this one, you also have to add that Philip's land army is going to be a lot more convincing. He's already making knights over here. I'm not sure if Little John knows about that forward position, but he doesn't, apparently. And it is War Galley in for Philip, which means that he's going to win this fight fairly decisively once again. I feel like Little John is having a tough time playing this map. People mentioned Leary for this map. I feel like if it's actually Leary involved, Leary has to be blue. Because I feel like the second half of this game wasn't really played well by Little John. I feel like you can just redock like that. I also feel that this map is a little bit unbalanced towards the fishing eco, so whoever has the fishing eco has a so big lead into castle age that almost feels like a game over at that stage. Although here comes Little John with the archers and the skirmishers, and he's actually going to take a reasonable engagement over here as the TC. I think it's gonna go up, but it might actually end up being a proper doubt TC, losing half of your eco trying to get it up. Voyager count is still dead even between 2 players. And it ends up only being 1 Voyager killed. Nice move from Philip to save those, and you can jump into the TC to finish those off, or just send the knights. That also works out. Archers here also being a little annoying, as there is going to be a couple of knights out for Little John, but obviously knights from Mongols are nowhere close to the knights from Lithuanians. One of the docks has been cleaned up, the other one is still under fire. And there is the monastery for Philip. Philip should have no trouble grabbing 3 or 4 relics very, very easily here. It looks like Philip is actually looking for that army with the knights, but he was a little bit lost here, and that's going to cost him 2 Voyagers potentially. At least 1, but yeah, there is the second one that was killed. That was a little sloppy from Philip, but now tries to trap that army over there as much as possible, and should be having no trouble cleaning this one up. He also has a knight on field. This knight has a +1 defense, only no bloodlines. Other side, there could be camels coming in from Little John, but the problem that he's going to be facing is that his food eco isn't going to be amazing, because he has 11 farms without horse color. His opponent is sitting on 13 farms with horse color, and he also has what is 10 fishing ships. Now, Little John has been doing an excellent job just killing the eco of Philip. He has killed 10 villagers, lost only 2, but he couldn't compensate for the fact that his opponent still has a overwhelming control, so to say, on the water. We'll have, as I said, 2 TCs for Philip, slowly walling himself up. 3rd TC is coming in for Little John. Once again, neither of these TCs are very, very close to a stone. This one is the best one for that, but you will still need a mining camp. And it looks like we're gonna have a couple of cav archers coming in, supported by camels, but here's the deal. If Lithuanians start picking up relics, and you see there is 1 relic already in because there is +1 attack and there is no attack upgrades. If Lithuanians start picking up relics, then camels won't actually be stopping those. This monk already picked up the relic, the other monk is just chilling over here, and it looks like Philip isn't really reacting to this one right now. He could have tried converting that knight earlier, but more importantly, he needs to pick up that relic, and the 2 relics on the south, those are free praise. And I like that Lithuanian play over here, to be honest, at the end, because really, these 2 relics on the south are pretty much uncontested. Rarely anyone goes in here. The crocodiles don't attack monks, I believe, so they can just yoink those relics away fairly easily, but even if they do, you just send 1 knight and you kill the crocodiles with them. Husbandry coming in for Philip, and if it's +4 attack knights, it doesn't matter how many camels you have with Mongols. Mango dice, which is always a tough thing to do. Like, you see that Little John is nowhere close to going for Mango dice. He's trying to go for cav archers, but cav archers won't work against knights that will have +2 defense. Potentially husbandry and then attack upgrades as well. That being said, they don't have +2 defense yet, and they don't have bloodlines yet, so it's a little sloppy from Philip. I'm not sure. He's got double stables, but I'm not sure why he's not getting bloodlines. Now getting +2 defense, that's a good decision, but I think bloodlines should already be in there for him. He probably doesn't want to commit to this fight, and he loses 1 knight to a conversion. Monks will jump into a TC, so this wasn't a great fight by any means for Philip. Not sure why he committed to that one. He needs to run back home and get some healing done over there, but +2 defense is almost in, so is the 2nd relic, and there's the 3rd relic coming in here in a matter of moments for Philip, and that's the real power that you're getting from Lithuanians here. On the other side, it's a little bit sloppy from Little John, not moving out for these relics on the south, because you would assume that you want to deny the relics from the Lithuanian players, so I like the Lithuanians being used the way that they are actually done by Philip. It's not just about, okay, let's get water and then I'm out of ideas type of thing. He knows exactly where to go for the relics, and that matters a lot. +1 attack coming in a second as well. There will be bloodlines as well, but it's not there just yet. Still, these knights are actually considered +2/+2, soon to be +3/+2, so they are still very, very good. A monk was traded off to a cav archer, essentially, over here, but there is the 3rd relic coming in, and the 4th relic could be on the way for a Lithuanian player as well. Just look at how much red there is on the map. It's crazy. Little John has a slight eco lead now with 3 TCs, as the 3rd TC was actually a little later from Philip, and Philip also has a lot more TC idle time, so macro issues are apparently there. But he's focusing on the attack upgrades like crazy on the knights. So instead of having a consistent Voyager production on TCs, he's focusing more on, okay, I need to get those upgrades before I actually keep adding more Voyagers. Which makes some sense. If he hits this part of the wall with like 20 knights with +4 attack, that's crazy. And it's gonna be a big fight. The converted knights also retain the attack. That's actually a lie. On Capture Age, they do retain their attack bonus from relics if they get converted from Lithuanians. So that's something that needs to be remembered. We are gonna have knights slowly overrunning this, and this is what Lithuanian knights give you. It's +5 attack. They're tanky because they're just generally knights, but they also destroy any unit really fast. And That's exactly Lithuanians with only 3 relics, and this Lithuanian player could easily pick up the 4th relic here without any problems, to be honest. So we have Little John picking up 1 relic, but look at this. He's down to 6 army. He's got the Voyager lead, congratulations, but you're gonna get overrun by knights over here. This game feels super omega over. And I think the biggest problem with this map is that whoever gets the water feels like it's gonna get a crazy advantage. And also, Lithuanians feel quite strong on this map with the known relic positions. Nice raids over there from Philip. And I think Philip is very, very close to evening things out. I don't see any civilization matching up against fully maxed out Lithuanian knights. These are just so strong. They're tanky, especially with cav archers. Cav archers need to hit and run, but you hit them, they barely take some damage because they have 4 pierce armor. Unless you have like 20 cav archers, knights will actually just overrun you. And there is also going to be the insane attack of those Lithuanian knights. There's already rams coming in as well. And you see that knights are actually bashing their way through the walls. Little John hasn't reacted to this one just yet, which means that all these knights will actually flood in here. A couple of cav archers won't slow this down, but even if they do, there's already a next attack assembled over here by Philip. 32 army against 7. And this feels like a fairly one-sided game towards Philip in the second half, to be honest. He's looking for the other relic with the monk, but honestly, the other relic is always on this side, so he could have actually found this already. Little John taps out, and Philip evens things out here. The power of the Lithuanian knights, that's all about that. And also, if you take a look at the economy, 27 versus 24. Okay, more gold for Philip. The food was actually better, but food income, 2,000 extra food from Philip. That's basically what comes from the fishing eco that really helped him. And also, I would like to point out, as I said, that picking up the relics early was an extremely good move from him. It's one thing that you get the early advantage with Lithuanians on water potentially, but the follow-up was very nice from Philip. So he knew exactly that it's not enough to just go for, okay, I have the pond and I can sit back and chill. I'm just gonna go and play super aggressive, pick up the relics, and just overrun my opponent with knights. Lithuanians Mongols are gone. The civilizations are originally thought that will be picked for Bay, but now Little John's first home map will be selected, which is Couple Islands. And here's the deal. I don't think that Leary would willingly select islands as his home map, so we can cross out Leary for Little John. It would be a surprise if he selected islands for his home map. Philip the Good is going to be left with Malay, Chinese, Byzantines, Britons. Other side, Japanese, Celts, Persians, Saracens. I think it is going to be a Malay versus Saracens matchup, but you never know. There could be some interesting landings coming in here. There could be a lot to this one still. Alright, so we're waiting for the next recorded game. We're going to the first home map of Little John, which is a cup or islands. I think it's fairly straightforward that if it's cup, we're probably gonna see Celts. If we see Britons on a cup, I think that is telling us something. I'm trying to make this as spoiler-free as possible, but if you have seen other series, we have seen Britons or cup already. For a player that we could fairly well identify, and you would assume that teammates often will have somewhat similar strategies because they probably discuss strategies together. Like, even though they're technically the opponents of each other at some round, potentially, many teammates still discuss strategies together. We have seen this for Team Secret back then in Hidden Cup 2 and 3. Probably Gamer Legion is doing the same thing in Hidden Cup 4 right now. So they're trying to help each other out as well. Obviously, everybody has custom preparation as well, so to say. But you also have to consider that the players might be sharing a bit of strategy choices with each other. So similar strategies could actually relate to similar teammates or potentially practice partners. Score is 1-1 right now, and we will jump into game number 3. So Philip the Good versus Little John. We are gonna have, is it islands or is it It's Cup. So welcome to Cup over here. We will have a Little John playing as Celts, and Philip the Good is playing Britons. I have a feeling that I know who Philip the Good could be. It's not really something really tough, but I'm actually going to take some notes about this one. Because we have seen one player in this tournament so far that has gone for Britons on this map. Okay, I had to take my notes in here. So, we're gonna have on the right side Philip the Good as a Britons in red, and left side is going to be Little John as Celts in blue. Celts is the good old-fashioned traditional civilization for this map for multiple reasons. Very versatile early on, can open mana terms, can open rush, has a good wood eco at the beginning, has a good siege push in mid-castle age, and if the game goes into post-imperial, it has a beastly late-game push as well. So it's a good all-round civilization and pretty much has something going for him at every stage of the game, and that's what matters the most, I believe. For Celts, other side, we're gonna have Philip the Good as Britons, and once again, the two players are very, very open on their side, which is closer to the pawns. That is the way that this map is scripted. Taking a look at the base of Little John, this is still a relatively wallable base. You wall to the TC here, you wall here, gold, berries, stone safe, and you probably wall... You could wall like this, to be honest, but if you are a little bit more ambitious, you can drop a house here, or here, and wall here. That would secure a bit more wood for you. So multiple options are available for Little John over here. Goes for a dock on the bigger pond. Other side, we have a little bit more open base, I would say, for Philip. The gold mine is very, very exposed. The berries are as well. And this is the big problem for Philip. All of his golds are super exposed. The two secondary golds are all full, the primary gold is all full, and I really am wondering, every time I see this map, I feel like the right side player is actually the one that has the worst map. It seems a little more open than the other side. I don't really know why, and if it's consistent or not, but it really seems like this side is always a bit more open in terms of resources than the other one. With that, we're gonna have what is essentially a pre-milled rush timing for Philip, and an interesting dock position from Little John. He's actually going to dock the middle island over here. Not 100% sure why, but you could actually use this Voyager to do fishing, even from the deep fish. You could send out 3 or 4 Voyagers and go for fishing over here with the Voyagers, or you can just add fishing ships yourself. Now, the pre-milled rush is actually meant here to pretty much deny / harass those fishing ships. It looks like Philip will just be playing standard land meta over here for now. With that, we are gonna have the first militia coming towards the base of Little John, though, not actually towards the dock. And holy smokes, what is that game plan? The way to defend against the Drush. Haha, 300 IQ plays. You gotta wonder if this investment is worth it, though. I mean, I seriously question this. It's gonna be a nice little pond for the fish, but you will end up deleting these walls anyways. You shouldn't actually continue building these, because you want to get at least some of the resources back. I mean, Celts help with this because their wood income is great, but I feel like if you finish these walls, you're just gonna waste, what is that, 12 tiles of palisade for one single drop of fish. I feel like that isn't really great, and if you think about it, Philip only went for 1 militia. He didn't even rush you really hard, so I really wonder if this investment is worth it. If you just make the foundations to make it harder for the militias to access it, it's fine. But I feel like you shouldn't be finishing these walls, unless you want a little bit of a fishing pond over here with potentially fish traps. But you see that fishing ship is just going to not care and just loop around the walls anyways. 4 fishing ships in this little zoo coming in. This definitely looks cute, I have to say. We're gonna have the militias coming in here for The Philip, in fact, is just one militia. We will have a mining camp for Lord John going on, so it's free on gold. Makes me feel like we're actually going to see some galleys or fire galleys. Whereas on the other side, Philip is actually playing what appears to be men-at-arms timing. But reality is that this is basically a straight archer's play. Oh, Little John was actually trying to trap that militia over there as he's trying to get that wall up. I have some feelings, this might be an awkward feeling, but it's not completely impossible that Little John is Viper. I don't want to speculate a lot on this, but the Celts pick is something that always was a Gamer Legion pick on this map. So it's technically not impossible. I was actually thinking about that because not a lot of people would actually mess around with trying to trap a militia over there like that. There's only very few people that would actually attempt that. The rest of them would just say, okay, whatever, it's one militia, I'm not going to care about that. So with that, there is an archer range coming in here for Little John. So it is for Philip, and Fire Galley on the way for both players. Obviously the eco for Little John is much better over here because of the extra fishing ships working, but other than that, I think that Philip is still pretty much fine. Over here, a spearman comes out to poke down the scout. That's the only purpose of that, and it is also going to get some hits on top of that militia. An outpost comes in from Little John, so he's gonna be easily seeing that fire ship popping out to a point where he's just probably gonna lose that voyage. Is he gonna lose it? He needs to run for a shoreline. He definitely wanted to have an outpost here to see if the opponent actually gets a dock up. And I think, oh, the Wolf is gonna finish this Voyager. How cruel life is here. The fire ship actually began it, and I think the Wolf is gonna be able to finish off that will. Nope, calculated. Calculated over here for Little John. Survives the encounter with the Wolf with 3 HP. So that's gonna matter because that sneaky Voyager could do some nasty things later on, although it seems like he might just be walking back home, which could result in his death to a fire galley. So it looks like we're gonna have both players bring in fire galleys over here. Still, the fishing eco is working for Little John, so it's a persistent 4 Voyagers lead that he has, and that's not something to underestimate. Extra 4 eco for this long actually helps quite a bit, but now we have archers on the way for Philip. Archers also moving in for Little John, and Philip's gold mine is dangerously open, to be honest. We are gonna have the fire galleys taking the fight over here. Archers could be hitting the back of Little John's wood line, so both players could be potentially losing Voyagers in this one. This gold mine is dangerously open for Philip. I don't like how open he has left it. And with that, indeed, here comes the archer push. And Philip is going to have to evacuate his gold mine, but same is the fate of Little John's wood line. The scout gets poked down, a first Voyager gets picked off, and other than that, there is going to be some quick walls from Little John to survive against that. Little John, however, runs into the TC fire, and now that I look at it, it's hard to say. I feel like for a moment I thought it's Viper, but there's no way. Viper would have never lost those archers to the TC fire, I think. With that being said, there is some extra hunt coming in here for Philip. I was thinking about Philip the Good potentially being Leary. And the thing is that Leary often sends out Voyagers for the hunt in Feudal. That's something that is something that can be observed in Red Bull games as well from Leary. He's always the one that, even if he doesn't push them in, he's just going to send out a Voyager there. House will come up for Little John. Stone walls are up, which means that this Voyager is actually going to survive, I believe. Nice juke over there from Little John. Right now, if you look at the pond though, Little John's fishing eco is sort of dying. And, well, that basically means that we are gonna have potentially even ecos. Nice fight over here for Philip. He actually catches that fleet off guard. One of the fire galleys is really weak. Only sends 2 to chase them though. Still, he's got the overall HP advantage. I think this fire ship is actually looking for the fishing ships of the opponent, which are now idle. So technically the ecos are absolutely even. In fact, I'm starting to like the position of Philip a lot more. This game is far from over though, as there is a repair Voyager. That's a low HP repair Voyager. That was the poor guy that encountered the Wolf and ends up losing his life to a fire ship, and this fire ship is going to finish off the rest of the fleet over here from Little John. There is a demo coming in as well, but there isn't really a lot of things to demo here. Like, you don't want to demo a single fire ship, you want to demo 2 of them, but it's not like there is a lot of them on the field, so I don't think that that's going to matter that much. Skirmishers will clean up the archers here. Nice move over there from Little John. But I feel like at this point, Philip is just thinking about going into Castle Age here. His opponent is not far away either, but he'll really require a market to buy himself up because he's too heavy on gold. So it's probably going to be Castle Age, and then could be just crossbows, honestly, for Philip with Britons, although technically he could go for Knight and Siege push himself, start adding some fishing ships so that he's actually able to capitalize on the pond a little bit. But keep in mind that Little John knows about that fishing ship because of the outpost here. That's why Philip is actually taking down that outpost. These fishing ships are still alive here, but they won't really do much. They're very, very weak, and they will just run into the fire ship over here. So the fire guy is going to sink one, and the other one is not gonna go down, but it's gonna be idle forever, so it doesn't really matter. Archer scrims trying to push the gold mine of Philip. Philip wisely walling in front of it instead of using it as a wall, so even archers won't be able to ignite. And honestly, Little John, with the use of the market, his Castle Age time is actually going to be comparable to the Castle Age time of Philip over here. So it's going to be a full crossbow play. We will see what we see from Little John. Could be forward siege drop manganose, although I don't think that going full Castle Age push with siege is actually worth it on this map, because this is a map that is defendable enough once you have the walls up, and there is so much space to fall back to that you usually have the option to survive against an early Castle Age push and just outboom your opponent. So I don't think that just the full like Castle Age siege push actually works out well here. Because Little John had to go for some stone walls, I think he also had to sell some stone to go up. He's going to send the villagers to stone so that he will be able to make additional TCs. Skirmishers here right now not finding any value for themselves. So Castle Age is in. Second TC coming up for Philip over here on the stone. Now, Britons don't necessarily need castles over here, but it could still be a good idea to go for the stone, because in case you get pushed with siege from the Celtic player, defensive castle can always be very, very helpful. Other side, we'll have crossbows moving forward, and these guys will be dangerous. They will have 8 range, no ballistics though. War Galley even is in for Philip, so he actually wants to get some fire ships on the field. His opponent is also going for a War Galley, so we're gonna have some extended fights over here on this pond, which is mostly going to be about the gold control, not necessarily about the fish control. Crossbows now trying to push in. A knight also pops out here for Philip, and the thing is that Little John's army isn't impressing me right now. In fact, Little John is up to Castle Age, congrats, but he doesn't really have army on the field. 4 skirms, 3 archers, 1 spearman, 1 scorpion. Not impressed by that. And with that, the crossbows are actually starting to harass the eco of our blue player here. It's 2 TCs for both, but there's a third one coming in for Philip. Philip seems like he's slowly losing the water though, but you have to ask the question if there is anything to gain with water control right now, and I don't think that's actually the case. I don't think you gain anything right now with that water control. Gold is gonna be important later on, but it can wait. There is so much gold on the outside that you don't necessarily need to control that pond. We're apparently going to have a dock coming in here for Philip, as Philip will also intercept. Oh, nope. Philip pays attention. That could have been a disaster for him, should those crossbows be intercepted by a demo. But now the knights do clean up the skirms, and it looks like these scorpions will be forced to chase. And okay, that was a bit of an unexpected GG. I understand the point. I mean, those crossbows will be hitting this wood line, and there is actually a weak polycite section over here. This one even is open, but that feels like a premature GG in a tournament, considering that this pushes Philip into a match point. I mean, I'm not saying Little John was winning. He was free army, sure, but he was still okay in villager count, 2 TCs, and it's not like he was absolutely slaughtered. If this was a rated game and he says, okay, whatever, I have too much idle time. I understand that, but I feel like you could have at least tried because this actually might backfire really badly for Little John. This might backfire really badly. That he didn't um, he didn't even attempt to do something with this game. At the end, Philip actually takes over in this one, but this was a very, very easy win, to be honest, for Philip. He didn't really have to try. So he just played fairly standard, and basically, after he was able to kill a couple of villagers in feudal with the archers, that pretty much ended the game, but the villager count was dead even. Maybe he looked at the score and says it's 2400 against 2900. That could be something, but I really don't know why he tapped out this early. As I said, if it wasn't a tournament, I would say, okay, whatever. But in a tournament, I feel like you don't want to give your opponent a game just like this. Because it's not like you were winning, but you weren't absolutely destroyed, and this game could hurt him later on. Philip the Good winning Great Britain's over here fairly easily, Little John losing Celts. And this means that we are going to the other home map of Little John, which is going to be Islands. So, Fog, it is time for Islands. Now, I'm going to ask for about half a minute of a break. I need to run to the bathroom. There's probably going to be some time until we get the next recorded game anyways, so I'll be back in a moment. Okay, so back we are, and we already have game number 4 here, so let us get going. I'm going to quickly show off the civilizations though. This is where you can either go Byzantines or you can go Malay. Other side, could be Japanese, like it could be Japanese or Saracens. I don't think Persians is something that you would risk on a map like Islands. And I would like to point out that there was a player today that played Byzantines on Islands already, and you're not going to have another one because the Civs matchup is actually going to be Saracens versus Malay. So Saracens was the final pick for Little John. It basically is your budget water civ. It's not a bad civ, but it doesn't have a great eco bonus, and that means that it's not really amazing. The faster firing war galleys work really, really well. So late game Saracens is a scary water civ. But early game they're not so super amazing, but they can be played in a variety of ways. So they have the versatility with the market. They could actually go for a fast castle age power spike, so to say. There's a lot to think about with Saracens. Saracen transports also are stronger, so it is actually a little bit easier to land your opponent. Saracens also can fit 10 villagers or 10 units inside a transport immediately, so it helps when it comes to potentially dropping villagers off on this island even when you don't have careening or so. With that, we're going to have Malay for Philip the Good in red on left, and right side is going to be Little John as Saracens in blue. So at the end, the reason why we're not having any other civilizations is because Italians were banned by Little John, Vikings were picked by Philip but was sniped, and Portuguese were sniped as well from Little John. And that means that basically the best island civilizations were sniped or banned, and we're actually left with these sort of second-tier water civs. Both of these are reasonable civilization on water. Malay have very, very nice power spikes as well with the faster uptimes, whereas Saracens can use the market as much, and also they have the faster firing rate on their galleys and their war galley line. So both of these are legitimate water civilizations, as we're gonna have Little John bring in the first board. But I totally agree that I feel like that was a premature GG from Little John. Obviously, he wasn't dominating his opponent, but are you sure? Like, I think that in a big tournament like this, you have to play until you are guaranteed defeated, because every little detail could matter. And now Little John is up against an opponent that has match point. There was no guarantees he wins that previous game, but he could have at least tried. Maybe he forces his opponent to make a mistake, lands a good demo hit on the opponent's army, or so. He wasn't completely dead, and I feel like in a tournament, you have to make sure that you maximize your chances of winning, and part of that comes from the fact that you only quit games that you know that you have lost. You shouldn't go to the other side though, like, when you have lost the game, you should know to quit. But I feel like that was a little bit early GG here from Little John. We're going to have an interesting dog position over here for Philip. It's actually going to be close to the neutral islands. As we take a look at Philip's island, it is an interestingly shaped island, but most of the wood is actually fairly reasonable, so resources are relatively safe. Both gold mines are nice, the stone mine is nice. This stone mine is actually bad, but that's the only thing I could criticize about this map. Right now, it looks like our red player has been pushing some deer, I believe, because he hasn't found two of his sheep arenas just yet. He still has time to do that. An interesting part of the map is this southern area where both players are super close to each other, and this could be an excellent opportunity for landing for both. For Little John's island, the golds are once again safe, stones are comparable to the ones of the opponent. There is a lot of empty space over here, which could be annoying if there is a landing, because this is just... If there is landing here, defending this area is going to be tough, because there is just not an easy wall-off option. There's a lot of space for your opponent to drop buildings at, so this could be a little bit problematic opening over here. But other than that, most of his resources are alright. What I don't like is the wood lines. These wood lines could all be harassed or completely exposed to war galleys or galleons. And same thing could apply to this one over here, potentially this one as well. So the majority of the wood lines are actually a little bit exposed to aggression. And it looks like that's going to be a fast feudal here. It's a very, very fast feudal with Malay. That's a super omega fast feudal. Look at that. He actually picks up faster than the opponent. In the meanwhile, Little John seems like... is he playing fast castle? It would be a very, very ballsy way of playing fast castle here with Saracens. Although you never know with the Saracen market abuse, but this just seems like a side dock galley play. Especially, see, all these voyagers being sent to wood. I don't think it's going to be a fast castle here with Saracens. He might be using the market throughout feudal age, and that's something that helps a lot, because maintaining a good eco balance on islands is always a tough thing. Usually you have trouble getting appropriate food income to keep training villagers, so the Saracen market helps in many ways here. But it seems like it's just a standard galley play. But look at how fast Philip the Good is with Malay into the next stage. It's only one dock right now because he can't squeeze out another one, but holy smokes, that was a fast feudal. That is like 830 feudal. That is crazy, even with Malay. He's able to squeeze in double bid axe, which is important, and as I said, the fact that he still has sheeps left is actually extremely important, because transitioning your food eco in early feudal age helps. Like, you need the sheep to have a reasonable food eco. You don't want to make a meal just yet because you want to spend your wood on ships and docks, so it is extremely important to have these sheep left over here. One of the reasons why you push in deer is to keep as many sheep alive as possible. Interesting is the fact that Philip actually stopped after two deer being pushed in. He could have actually gone for the deer push even now. With that being said, he's actually going for the opponent's docks. Over here will be a triple docks, as Little John is going to see that there's a power galley sailing towards him. The thing is, however, with the Saracen firing galleys, you're gonna have 3 docks shooting faster with the galleys. I feel like you need 5 or 6 galleys, and you are already ready to push off the opponent's fire galleys here. So this is gonna be tricky for Philip to fight against. He might actually force some idle time on the fishing eco, might even kill it. And you could see that Little John actually went with Loom into Feudal much later than his opponent, whereas Philip actually went with Loom. So, with Loom, way faster Feudal Age compared to the player that went without Loom. That's actually a crazy, crazy Feudal from Philip. So, for now, the macro seems to be on point for Philip, consistent Fire Galley production over here. But as I said, the problem that you're facing over here is that the Saracen galleys will quickly make your fire ships obsolete, even though there is no blacksmith just yet. Blacksmith on the way right now for Little John. No market as of yet, but it's not really a big expense, and eventually you will start making it. But right now you just try to prioritize fletching, although you apparently can't actually afford it until you force drop your Voyagers, which happened just now. Once you have fletching and the galleys, you should be able to win this one. But one thing that we shouldn't underestimate is that Little John has already lost his fishing eco. And he's actually looping around with the galleys. He will try to pick off the fishing eco of the opponent. That's a nice decision, but we'll see if that's going to succeed. That's a very, very good move. Nice reaction from Philip, though, saving his fishing eco. If he's able to save it, if you add it to the fact that Malay in general will have more Voyagers because they spend less time going up to the next stage, that's going to be a very, very big eco lead for Philip. And Saracen market is capable of a lot of things and might actually still yield you a better cast stage time, but the eco advantage will be undeniable now for Philip. So, with that, we are gonna have more and more galleys popping out here soon. I think they will wait until there is like 6-7 galleys, and then they will actually try to depart, sail to the north, and then out micro those fire ships. Soon you will have to make your move, because those docks are slowly going down. Now it's 3 galleys out, you try to drag away these galleys, and you probably pop out these galleys to finish off that one, and we'll try to unite these 2 navies as fast as possible. So, looking at the resources, though, look at those resources for Philip. It is 330 food, 330 gold, trying to cut off the path of the galleys over here, and he's gonna have to fall back a little bit now, and this is why, once you get to good galley numbers, suddenly the fire galleys will be just an absolute pile of junk, and that's a lot of galleys, especially with Saracen rate of fire bonus. And I'm not really sure what Philip is gonna be able to do against that. He's got some more fire galleys, but the best thing he could do is try to save his fleet and go into Castle Age. Because that's really the best thing that you can do. Especially with the Malay, you can beat your opponent into Castle Age. On Archer range, interesting, it seems like we're gonna have a landing from Philip. I had some leery feelings as we have a nice sandwich over here for Philip. I am starting to feel more and more leery-esque for Philip. Indeed, he kinda needs to do something because his fire ships are absolutely getting torn apart, but many players would just try to save that fleet and fall back and go for the Castle Age and go for the fire ship upgrade. But not this guy. He's actually going to try and land here. But this is a dream for Little John, because now he can actually finish off his opponent's fishing eco, and he starts to get water for himself. It's not a guaranteed win right now, but as I said, it is a massive lead for Little John that he has water control. He can actually start adding fishing ships once again. Right now it's just galleys, saved 1 fishing ship. Nice move from Philip that he's keeping his fishing ships alive even though they're idle. It's better to be idle than dead, as the old saying goes. And there's the transport coming in, but where is that transport even going to go? The galleys will actually block its path. Like, that transport might be completely useless because it has nowhere to go. How are you even going to sneak that transport around? I don't think that that's gonna happen. And I think that Little John might have seen it. This is tough. I don't know if he saw it. I don't think he did. But if he did, then he knows exactly a landing is coming. He's already taking out the dock over here. In case you are wondering why market abuse is called market abuse and not just market use, that is why. Look at that. That's disgusting. This is why people are calling it a market abuse and not just, using the market. That was some massive, massive market usage from our Saracen player, who is mining stone. For those of you that are not familiar with this one, for Saracens it actually makes more sense to mine stone and sell it and buy the resources from it than it is to add food eco at the beginning. Obviously it's gonna be a little bit more efficient over time, or inefficient over time, but at the beginning Saracens are indeed mining stone to make their food eco work. And Philip the Good clicked up at the same time. Obviously he is Malay, so he's gonna reach the next age a little faster, and the archers tries to jump inside to transport, but here's the deal, how is that transport getting to the opponent's island? Look at that. Galleys coming here. Galleys coming here. This transport isn't actually reaching its target. There's no way. And the thing is that there's only 5 fire galleys on the fleet, so it's not like fire ships will decide the engagement in the favor of our red player. And this transport sailing over here will just tell Little John that there's a dock here at the back as well. I think if Little John is paying attention, he can actually take down the transport. Indeed, find the transport. You have to jump out of the transport right now with the archers. This is why Little John is blocking that transport. He was trying to block the shoreline to make sure that the transport is unable to reach shore and drop off the units inside. It was 1 scout and 4 archers taken down. This is looking really, really good for Little John, and he's looking much more convincing in this game so far. Fire ships are in. And we are gonna have war galleys coming in. Only Taro would play Saracens here? I don't think so. Any player would play Saracens when all the other water civs are banned. It's not impossible, it's Taro, but I would be very, very surprised if it was. Saracens is not a bad water civ by any means. With that, war galley Botkin is coming in as well. We are gonna have... Who do you think it is? I don't know, but I don't think it's Taro. The reason why I don't think it's Taro is because what else, like what other water civs you pick when Vikings, Italians, Portuguese, Malay, and Japanese are no other options? Like, you basically have Berbers and Saracens to choose from, and he chose Saracens. And that actually makes quite a lot of sense. Byzantines were also taken by Philip. So really, there was a very limited choice. I don't think that the Saracens pick over here is exclusively confirming Taro. Taro loves his Saracens, but I feel like this is not decisive. Isn't that just a bad draft? It depends. It absolutely depends if it's a bad draft. It depends on what he wants to achieve. And we haven't seen that just yet. He also tried, like he himself sniped Vikings from his opponent, so part of that comes from the fact that he wanted to remove some of the best water civs from the game. Can Little John achieve enough water superiority to make up for Philip's superior eco? Possible. With Saracens, you always have to play aggressive, so you can't assume that with Saracens, you're gonna have the better eco. Even if it wasn't for the eco KD, you can't assume that you're gonna have the better eco with Saracens, especially not against Malay. So you have to be aggressive with these war galleys. The real question is if Philip actually tries another landing, because he went for careening, which means that he could actually also fit 10 archers inside a transport. You see that Little John actually made some contingency walls, even made a siege workshop at home. So he's scared about landing. We'll find some fishing ships to take down here. Town watch from Philip. He's probably expecting a landing here as well, like Monk and Siege or so. Do we think Philip is leery? I have a feeling about that, but to be honest, it's not confirmed at all. It's just me feeling like it could be leery. Boso in for Philip, only double bit axe for Little John. Little John is actually going for free TCs, so he's trying to catch up with the opponent, but that's still going to be impossible, as it is going to be free TCs as well for Philip. So eventually the eco advantage will still be on the side of Philip, and I'm not really sure what Little John could do here. That's the problem. Like, his war galleys are nice, but his opponent, as we discussed at the beginning, has an island that is extremely well defendable. We do have 7 voyages on stone for Philip, which means that he's thinking about redocking. Yes, you can try spreading out the galleys and prevent redocking, but you don't have enough war galleys for that. 22 war galleys isn't enough, and the reason why is because your opponent still has some ships. So, yeah, you can spread out your war galleys and try to prevent redocking, even though I don't think that you can stop a castle by any means. But the problem is that if you spread out your ships, they will be exposed to these random fire ships that you see that they are still slowly catching these. So it's 9 fire ships on the fleet for Philip. That's not a bad fleet if you actually consider that many of these war galleys are already weak individually. So you can't really spread out. I don't think that he would have the numbers by default anyways. But even if he had, I feel like if he splits up his fleet, he's just going to lose these one by one to the fire ships. So, look at this imp for Philip. Look at this imp for Philip, this is crazy. Malay is a beastly Sith here, and I did mention that power spikes is just brutal. Do harbors beat ships? Heated shot doesn't apply completely to harbors because it would be too strong, but yes, harbors will actually win based on cost efficiency. Because a harbor is very, very cheap, and the ships are much more expensive to replenish. But I don't think it's going to be about harbors, it's going to be about fast fires. It's going to be about fast fires. There is already a decent amount of fire ships on the field. And this imp time is going to be crazy. This is like a 30 minutes imp time over here. We also have some fire ships in a corner. I like that. You try to hide your fleet here. I think that's the best thing you can do because you need numbers. It doesn't matter that you don't have docks at the beginning of Imperial if you still have like 20 ships. The best thing that you can do is hide your fleet in the corner, just like that. Now, if Little John is suspecting that his opponent is going for a faster Imperial Age and just the fast fires, he can make demos like he's doing right now. Imperial Age for Philip. And I wanna go back a little bit to the previous game now. In retrospective, Philip has a massive lead in this game, right? Was it still a good idea to call it that early for Little John? Because Little John was having a much smaller deficit than he has in right now this game. This game is very rough for Little John right now. Whereas the previous game, it was, even though he might have been a little bit behind, but I don't think he was that much behind. And right now, Little John is definitely behind. He's behind by 14 wheels. He is nowhere close to imping, and congrats, fast fires will just melt your entire army. War galleys, anything. Demos can slow down the process of getting absolutely destroyed by fast fires, but they can't prevent it by any means. So they definitely slow it down, but you actually need to be on the way to Imperial to make that happen. Otherwise, demos aren't good enough to sustain fights against the fast fires, and fast fires just eat anything that's in castlage. That's why fast fire power spikes with Italians, Byzantines is just a so strong play, because you can delay the fast fires eating your fleet up like crazy with a couple of demos, but it's still not going to be enough to stop the fast fires. And you see Horse Color just now coming in for Little John. Little John is out. I don't see a win condition right now for him. He's never going to reach Imperial, especially considering that his opponent already has a range. So if you are Philip right now, in fact, look at Philip's resources with stone. He could very well drop a cast on the opponent's base. Oh my goodness, that's a disaster. This game is so over. Like, the thing is that Little John is never going to reach Imperial, and yeah, he actually has slowed down this fleet over here, but now it's 13 fast fires against 11 fires, 4 war galleys, and there's the transport ship. Careening was already in, so you can take 10 Voyagers, and let's see where the cast is being dropped. I think Philip can just safely go for a castle drop in these middle islands and just play it safe, or he can actually go super aggro and drop off the Voyagers on the opponent's island and actually start killing him. Go for a forward castle, but I think he's playing the safer way, drops the castle in the middle island. Considering that Little John is going for a lot of fire ships, this would be a time where Philip could mix in his own demos. I don't know if Malay have heavy demo, but if they have, then that's definitely a reasonable idea. Some demos are coming in here. Numbers are still favoring Little John, but he's still very far away from Imperial. And you also have to consider that this gives a lot of time for Philip to switch into his own galleons. So yeah, there is apparently one demo on the field for Philip. Not an awful lot. Here come the demos for Little John. That was some nice demo hits, and really, I think this is the moment where Philip needs to start thinking about switching to galleons. Because the fast fires are nice and everything, but now that you have the opportunity, you could actually start thinking about the galleons, especially when the opponent has that many demos, and those demos are actually really nice. So, I think I'm getting confirmed that it's getting leery, because those demo hits are brutal, and Philip the Good's fireship control hasn't been amazing, to be honest. So, I feel like a more experienced water player would probably avoid more of those hits. It's still an insanely strong player, as you see over here, that also used its manual reseeding, but it's a matter of avoiding these demo shots. Not something that's happening. And Little John is actually going to go up into Imperial Age, so he actually picks up. He's not completely dead yet, but you really gotta wonder, as he made a Scorpion to deal with these fast fires over here, if he's gonna have the chance to play this one out though, because the thing is that his opponent has the neutral islands, and that's always a massive advantage. Over here, Ballistics coming in for Philip, but no other ships. I think now it's Harbor time. He's actually going for a Galleon, but like legit, go for Harbors here. If you go for Harbors around this island, good luck for Little John contesting that. He won't be able to go for that. And I think oftentimes Harbor is more like a meme play. I feel like in this situation, Harbor is an absolutely legitimate building to have. If you fortify this island with harbors, it's going to be insanely hard to take over. And all that you want, if as Philip, is just slowing down your opponent. And as I said, harbors can be extremely useful at just lowering the opponent's ship numbers as well. There is the landing with the castle though. And once again, he's just not sitting on his lead. He wants to go and finish off this game. Somewhat Leary-esque once again. I feel like if I was Leary, I would also do the same thing. And Imperial Age will be in for Little John. He still has a lot of fire ships. But there's already a lot of galleons in here. There is no dry dock for them, neither bracer. So these are not amazing galleons. But there is already, I mean, a castle on this position, and Little John is going to have to defend against this one. He definitely sees the castle, but now it's probably going to be Karambits. You make a couple of Karambits or just Trebs and start trebbing down buildings. Still waiting for what is going to be a fast fire upgrade, I believe, for Little John. I assume that he has fast fires. Like, I don't know. Saracens should have fast fires. If they don't have fast fires, that's a big disaster. Because, I mean, I was hoping, like, his only hope was that he can actually get to fast fires here and, you know, start actually fighting on water, because, yeah, he's getting to Galleon, but I mean, his opponent already has a reasonable amount of Galleons. With careening, chemistry is coming in, but more importantly, the Trebs are already out. Taking on the Siege Workshop, that's a good idea to prevent bombard cannons from coming out, and he's chopping down the opponent's wood. Every bit of the wood that you chop down helps quite a bit in late game in this one. And it very much seems like Saracens do not have the fast fires. I'll have to check the tech tree for that, but I don't think that Saracens have it. Yeah, Saracens don't have fast fire ship. I wonder if our blue player know about this one. Doesn't really matter. I feel like Little John knows exactly that this is over. And the final set of the day actually ended up being a somewhat one-sided one. Philip the Good, after losing the first game to the Champ Scars, he seems to be stomping his opponent. Hard to guess who Little John was. I don't really have a clue on this. But to me, Philip feels very Leary-esque. We'll see more about this guy in the next round. To me, my best guess right now is Leary, but I don't really know Little John right now. It's going to be a hard one to guess Little John because we won't see any more games from him, as it is Philip the Good advancing to the next round of Hidden Cup 4.